Welcome to TMI, the Men's Initiative, where we interview leaders in the community and the body of Christ who have a proven track record and foundation of spiritual growth and success. These men will talk about spiritual well-being, men's mental health, relationship tips, health and body care, family, and more.
Good afternoon. My name is Garey Collins, and I am a Greenville County Council representative for District 27, and that covers Fountain Inn, Simpsonville, and Five Forks area here in Greenville County. I've been elected for almost a year now, and I always wanted to do something more that could benefit most of the people that I could serve, because I believe service in public brings a sacrifice and a personal vendetta. And so I decided to run for Greenville County Council over a year ago. It took me a year to campaign, and I just wanted to do different. And that said, I'm originally from Indiana. I've been in Greenville for 20 years, and I've been involved with the Republican Party, been involved with politics, always wanted to get in, and because I knew I could serve and serve well. I retired military, started first class out of the U.S. Army. I was there for 12 years in the Air Force as well. I have a total of 20 years. Married, have 3 children, and got 2 in high school and 1 in elementary school. And we moved here after I retired from Fort Drum, New York. And I met my wife in the Army. She is a drummer for the Army band. I play the banjo and a 4-string bass. So most of my kids, they play instruments. And what we do is, for us to get here, we retired out of Fort Drum, New York, moved to Greenville. And we loved it, and we've been here for 20 years. But when I got in the military, I was born in Indiana, as I said. I was one of 13 children. My dad died when I was 5. The state took us at 6, and I was a foster child. So since 1970. So since I was a foster child, I'd been in 7 different foster homes and 4 different group homes. And every time I got moved, they would give me a brown bag of clothes with 2 change of clothes and a pair of socks. And then I would be transferred to a different foster home. And then as those parents moved, they would take me back to the group home. So throughout the course of my life, I have the 12 siblings, only one of which I know of today, and she's in San Antonio, Texas. The rest of them, I do not know where they're at. Don't know any grandparents, no aunts, no uncles, no siblings whatsoever. So in that case is when you're moving around as a child, they kind of just put you where they have to go, because back then, the welfare system, foster care system, they just took you and put you where to get you. It was a new system back then in the early 60s, late 70s. So that was different for me. So when I was moved to a family, I've been through different families, socioeconomic ethnicities, been with a rich family, poor family, and then those in the middle. We went on vacations every year with certain families. Some families, we lived in a mobile home. I've lived in a mobile home before myself. So you begin to wonder after a while, what is it that God has in store for me? Well, coming up, I couldn't play sports because the families wouldn't take me there, because they said if they wanted you to play sports, someone would come and get you. So after a while, when you're 10, 12 years old, you kind of start to think, you see other kids and other families that have parents, and me not knowing my parents kind of gave a void. And I didn't really realize that until about the age of 12 to 14, at which I was going to a Baptist church in Indiana, and I found the Lord. So once I became a born again, and at 14, and of course, I'm still a sinner, always a sinner as we walk on this earth, but it gave me a different perspective. And one of the reasons I asked some of the parents that I was with at the time, why is it I don't have a biological parents? Well, they said you do have biological parents, they had died. So it kind of gives you a perspective to say, okay, so once I go from one family to another, then you start thinking, well, why is it no one wants to keep me? Well, at the time, the foster care system was still fairly new. So you have to kind of, I realize it now looking back, but at the time, you know, I always got toys from most families' kids where they got the new toys, I got the hand-me-down toys, but I always wanted a Tonka dump truck from the age of 9 to 12 to 14. So, but my first job, and I still have it today, that Tonka dump truck that I bought with my own money. So those are some of the things that took me to where, and then I lived with a black family, I lived with a Jewish family, I lived with white families, and one family in particular taught me how to cook. They taught me how to be responsible, and they said, son, if you're going to serve the public, you're going to sacrifice in a personal life, meaning that you have to give beyond what the average person does. And I kept that in the back of my mind going through different high schools. In Indiana, at the time I graduated, required 32 to 36 credits. I graduated with 42. I went to 9 different high schools. I have 8 different yearbooks. And again, I went with 7 different families and 4 different group homes. So going into group homes, you always had to do what everyone else does. I got into a bay. They check you in. You have to put you through the infirmary back in the day. And they check you for lice and all this stuff. And what they did, they got you to understand that they're there to provide a service. And that was to put a roof over my head until they could find a permanent or temporary placement. Because back then, in the late 60s, early 70s, the foster care system was not as fluent as it is today. But I was grateful, and I went through, like I said, the different homes, and I learned a lot of different socioeconomic principles with the different families I lived in. One family, they took us on vacations to Hawaii, to Florida, 2 in the summer. But then I moved out and, I had to start taking care of pigs, cows, horses, and chickens. And we never got to watch TV. In fact, the first year I got to be into basketball, which was my 6th grade year, I bought a pair of Chuck Taylors at a yard sale. That was the old canvas tennis shoes. And I couldn't wear them to school, but I could use them to play basketball. So those are the things that really struck me as being interesting. And so as I went on, went through high school, so one of the families didn't allow me to do much. So when I got into the 10th to 12th grade, I started working a second job. I started accumulating a little bit of money. And so I was always thinking, well, you know what? I always want to help other kids. So then I started going around touring with some of these caseworkers as a foster child to different group homes that they went to. They would take me and I would give my situation to those that are in the group homes. And it was beneficial to me, but to them as well. So, and then it kind of makes you wonder, when I was about 17, I thought, what is my future? So I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to try out for basketball. So when I graduated high school in 1982, graduated early, and then I said, you know what? I'm going to try out for basketball. So I tried out for the local college basketball, made the first cut, and didn't make the second. So at that time, I went and joined the Air Force. So in that transition time from high school, I didn't have a place to go. So I had to forge the papers to get into the Air Force, and I lived in a 1969 Dodge Coronet in the back of a Napa auto parts dealer is where I lived at. And so when I was in the Air Force, I was in Germany for 10 years. I've been to 120 countries. And then I always wanted to get involved with special needs. I was a special needs, Special Olympic liaison for the Air Force Base in Europe. And when I came back, we moved here when I met my wife in Fort Drum, my second wife. So I always wanted to get involved. So I got involved with special needs here in Greenville County. I drive a school bus. I do 5 high school officiating sports. And I volunteer at the Y. I've been a coach for 5 different sports at the YMCA here locally. And I drive a school bus part-time. I'm a substitute teacher part-time. I was a motivational speaker for a lot of middle schools and elementary schools. And there's always a way to give back, because now I've taken that childhood void in my life and fulfilled that with hope as I do to help other kids and other people within the community. And that's my focus. And that's why I decided to run for county council, because I think I can serve, and I think I'm doing a very good job listening to other people and trying to advocate for them as some advocated for me as a child. And that's what my goal is in life. And if there's anybody who would like to talk, ask questions about my childhood, my adulthood, again, I'm a sinner just like the rest of us, but the hope, an empty tomb was full of hope, and I still keep that in my heart. So you can call me at any time, 864-905-2689, and I can go more in depth on my story, because I believe my testimony is for other people, and that's what I'm gonna try to use it for.